Yeehaw, Mary Beth! We're going to have a talk this week about why Americans do model railways better than we do as the British. We are second-class citizens when it comes to getting our act together and doing model railways to their fullest potential. The best we can hope for is a huge tail chaser. And when you get millions of pounds and all you do is a tail chaser, there's something wrong. When Billy Bob in his basement in America, in Arkansas, can build a fantastic proper scale model railway on his own. Anyway, let's have a chat, shall we? Hello there. Thanks for joining me today, folks. Now we're going to have a little bit of a chat, not a rant. We're going to have a little bit of a chat about why I reckon that American model railways are far better than British model railways. And there's a few points that I'm going to raise which hopefully people will see eye to eye with and they'll understand what I'm trying to get through. It's not about who's better, America or England. It's just about looking at it from a modeller's and an enthusiast perspective, which is better. And for the main reason for me is that the Americans tend to use their model railways a lot more than we do. Now in the UK, when we go to a model railway exhibition, most of the layouts are obviously English themed, and it usually involves expanses of trains running in and out of stations and the occasional bit of maybe shunting one or two sidings in your GWR branch line layout, and that is usually where it begins and ends. Now you might find the odd Inglenook layout and maybe the odd industrial layout set in the 50s or 60s, but again, for the most part, that's where it ends. At least what I've seen anyway. Now, if you're playing trains and you're not bothered about it being overly prototypical, then that's absolutely fine. You can just do whatever you want and you can continue upon your merry way, carefree and happy. But what about the rest of us? The rest of us who want something a bit more from their model railway and their time operating their model railway. There must be more to it. What if you want to have a railway that has multiple functions on it and you want to run British outline stock? You're pretty limited really, aren't you? If you really think about it. If you want to do it quote unquote properly, and like we've spoken about recently, there's nothing wrong with doing things to a prototype. I really do enjoy it myself. Again, we spoke about the attitude thing. We're not going to go into that today. We've already said what needs to be said on that. If you want to have a layout that's got certain modern image types, if you want to have a layout that's got, you can't have milk traffic anymore, you can't have general goods pickup, you can't have livestock traffic, you can't have any of that. At the most you can have is a ballast terminal or ballast sidings which has one type of traffic and that's it. Or you can do a container base which has one type of traffic. Now you could have an engineer's yard which gives you a little bit of freedom in terms of running small ballast trains and things in and out, but again, you're still fairly limited as to what you can get away with realistically. And I think the large issue here, the problem is our real railways that we base the prototype off of aren't actually all that interesting anymore. Not these days, anyway, not in terms of modern image. We can't see any real meaningful shunting operations or manoeuvres anymore. Everything tends to be hidden behind really tall buildings or loads of forest land or walls and tall fences, so you can't see anything unless you get your camera stood on the end of a platform and zoom in. That's the best you can hope for really. I mean, unless you go to a place like a heritage railway and they're doing a goods demonstration day, but even then it needs to be a pretty big railway and you still don't get any modern image stuff there. It's still stuff from the 50s, 60s and 70s which I never saw. I was never a part of that. But if you take a look over the pond at our gun-wielding, freedom-farming friends, you'll find so much more inspiration for modelling after a prototype. They have local, what they call local trains, which go down short lines, and they have usually multiple customers on this line, and you will quite regularly see a huge variation in traffic, and the trains usually aren't even that long either. It's not common to see things like industrial railways or a small manufacturing company that receive maybe a tanker car of various chemicals to aid them in the process of their manufacturing, and a box car filled with all sorts of raw materials. You may even get grain and gravel all in the same train on the same short line. And if you use a little bit of compression, you can actually get away with something which is a lot more prototypical and far more entertaining to operate. The revenue earning trains can be so small, and there's even still one railroad company in America that still use a steam engine to do proper mainline revenue earning work. That is fantastic. So if you want to run a steam engine, prototypically, for modern image traffic, then you can do, provided it's American. We don't have any of that here. I think the closest we came was maybe a few years ago when, I think it was GBRF, hired a Deltic to run the last aluminium train into an aluminium plant, and that was it. So it is for that reason I would say that the American layouts of model railways, or railroads as it were, are far better than the British ones, because they have a far more interesting prototype to base them off of. There's loads of YouTubers online, Soul Car Models for example, he does loads of varied running sessions. They're a good thing to watch. And if you want inspiration, you can look at people like Jawtooth. He does some real life filming of what they call rail fanning, which isn't standing there wafting the trains, it's train spotting, but in American. It allows us so much more variation in how things are operated, especially when you compare it to something like making tracks. Now this is in no way a harsh criticism of making tracks or the associated parties. It is certainly something to behold, something I've seen myself, and it's very impressive. But if you look at it, it is essentially just a huge tail chaser. That's all it is. When I have seen the layout being operated, I've seen nothing in regards to shunting or running around manoeuvres or anything like that. It just seems to be get a train on, get a train off, get a train on, get a train off. And if you had a comparable sized American layout, it would be half the length and 3 times more interesting, because they have all these different trains going here, there and everywhere, and doing running round and shunting or switching as it were, and it just gives you so much more variation. No, our American friends do really take on a personal ownership of their model railways, and they do make them actual tiny real railways with operational purposes and things like that. And I am thoroughly of the opinion that if we just took a little leaf out of their book, just for once, and gave it a try, I honestly think we would enjoy the hobby a hell of a lot more than we do at the minute. Oh, we could just blame Dr. Beeching for ruining our railways. Right then, so that's the chitty chattery bit over and done with this week, guys. Hopefully you have understood where I'm coming from. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with British Railways, of course I'm not. I love British Railways, and that's the stuff that I model, and I will probably model an American layout again at some point. I used to have a little bit of the rolling stock and a couple of locals, but moved it on because at the time I didn't have room for the project, but now I do. So I'm probably going to reinvest at some point in some American stock. Whether it's HO, whether it's N, I don't know. Probably going to lean more towards HO just because it's a bit easier to deal with. The N scale stuff in American layouts, it's very fiddly, and there's weird decoders and everything else. So if it does come back, it probably will be HO again. But as always, what are your thoughts? Do you think that there is something to be said for American railroads providing a better prototype for modelling? Certainly from an operational standpoint, I don't think you can argue with the fact there is a lot more to be done, realistically, when basing a model on an American layout. So with that said, I'm going to crack on with some modelling updates on my layouts now. So we've got some more updates this week. We're on shakyhandcam.com. Not sure if you saw this last week, but I've actually got the retaining wall in place now. These sections are glued in. I've also added some bedding in. Why is that not focusing? There we go. I've also bedded it in with some of that, what I suppose you call it, flock filler. It's just PVA glue and bits of flock, really. And it sets rock hard. Really is rock hard. But it looks fantastic. And it's sort of like moss and overgrowth and grass and whatever. Those ones are glued in place. But this one lifts out. This piece will lift out. So I can gain access to the point behind it. I've still got to finish this wall. I'm not sure what I should do with it. Whether a wall would be right or with the fencing. I'm not too sure. Really pleased with how the embankment turned out, by the way. A little bit of static grass on there. That's nice. I also put a little bit of a wash on the wall. You can't really see it on camera because, of course, the lighting's all awful. But I did put like a stone wash in between the bricks there. So in real life, it looks a lot better now. So there you go. You can just sort of see it from there. Look, you can see now where there's mortar in there. There's mortar in there now. I've actually added this bit as well. What we have here is a continuation of the rock wall. Now, obviously from up here you can see behind it, but this layout is designed to operate from about this height. So as you can see, it hides that back line quite nicely. And the wall is just made from loads of ripped up elephant roll, this blue stuff. That's all this is here. Loads of the scrubbings mixed with PVA and a little bit of black and white paint to make it grey. Let it set for a couple of days. It does take a long time to dry. And then I dry brushed over it with some white and grey just to highlight it. Put a bit of PVA onto it and put some static grass on it. Now I've not got a proper static grass applicator. I would like one. So if anyone out there is feeling generous, World War Scenics, and you want to send me a static grass applicator so I can do it properly, then feel free. It would be greatly received. Quite like this rocky little wasteland patch as well. I think that's turned out really well. Just something to fill the area. Might put some kids in there or some guys camping or whatever. I haven't decided yet. Now for the next bit, it's what to do with the rest of the layout. Why is this camera not focusing to the... oh my days. The rest of the layout. Now, originally this was supposed to be a modern image half with a ballast sidings or whatever, but I don't know. I'm not too sure now where I want to go with it. I'm thinking, and I want to know what you lot think. Should I just shorten this bit, keep this bit as a contained unit, move the loop from this end down to here, and just junk this bit entirely, keep the track for future projects? Then I can move that layout down, that section down to here, and that will let me use my desk without having to pull it out all the time. I can just have it up against the wall, and then I can put layouts over the desk as well. Shorter ones, but it will still allow me to have that option, if you will. So I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I honestly want to know, what do you think I should do? Should I just junk this half of it? Another option was to leave it as it is, build a nice big proper divide, build it up, and then have this bit as a 009 layout. Now, of course, it would be connected to the rest of the layout, so you'll have Engage on that side and 009 on this side. But only one side will be operated at any time. They won't run together. So when I'm sitting down this end doing 009 stuff, that side wouldn't be working at all. Or I could just build a separate 009 layout. I don't know what to do. I'm genuinely lost for what to do next, folks. So I'd really appreciate it if you could give me some advice, opinions. Opinions would be nice, and then hopefully I can make an informed decision and move on. I am in favour of shortening this layout here, putting the loop on the end, and then having that as a nice little sort of 6 foot long by 2 foot N-gauge layout, which I'll be able to move as well. I'll be able to remove it from the room. This is all one piece, so I won't be able to move this. I'd have to take it apart anyway. I think it's much easier to take it apart as one smaller layout than one huge layout. So let me know what you think. Also, we've got some more double O again. Now this is a little class 20, and all the Batman class 20 that a work colleague of mine traded with me. He wants me to do some bits and pieces for him, so he doesn't run double O anymore, but I have reweathered it to my liking and standards. And what we're going to do with this camera will not focus today at all. I don't know what's up with it, it will not focus at all. Anyway, I'm going to fit sound to it at some point, and hopefully one of the new DCC Concepts Stay Alives, the AE Stay Alives, which work with the Hornby TXS sound recorders. I will put TXS sound in here because they've got a class 20 sound profile now, and that'll sound fantastic once it's all done. And the fact I can just plug one of the DCC Concepts Stay Alives in there will be fantastic in terms of saving time. The Hornby ones, from what I can gather, are all out of stock everywhere else, so there we are. Looking nice, that. Right, that's it for this week, folks. Thanks for watching and listening to me talk nonsense as usual. Please let me know what you think about American versus UK layouts. Am I onto something? Are they more interesting to run? Look, I'm watching them now, they're fantastic. And what should I do with this N-gauge layout? Should we keep it as it is and finish the project, or should we shorten it and have it as a nice 6x2 continuous run layout, move it down to that end, free up more space at this side so I can work better, easier, and also have room for even more layouts and projects in the future? Let me know. And until next week, be good, be safe, be sound, be seen, and I'll see you later. Cheers, bye bye.